Hello and welcome to episode 19 of the UFOcast as Captain Scarlet. This week we're talking about Crater 101. So this is the sequel to Lunaville 7, the second of a trilogy of episodes, which will conclude next week with Dangerous Rendezvous. So having discovered the Mistron complex on the moon, it's now a case of let's go back and blow it up. Which Colonel White says, having discovered this, we need to do this as soon as possible. And obviously, depending on which order you watch the episodes in, depends on how much time elapses between the two episodes. So in the Blu-ray order, of course, we've had 2 episodes in between. That's all by the by. One interesting thing that I discovered not that long ago is that the title card actually says Crater I0I because they felt that the way that the 1 appeared in the font didn't work. So it's actually Crater I0I. I enjoy this episode. So, as we've said before, the VHS order released the 3 episodes together, and so I am pretty certain that I possibly my dad or my brother had that tape, because I'm pretty sure I saw the 3 as a sort of continuous, well, not movie. I don't know whether they were edited together. Listeners, if you are aware, because it's so long that I can't remember if they were actually edited into one movie rather than just separate episodes. Well, my recollection is that it's slightly let down by the ending, but this middle part I think is my favourite of the 3. It's a lot of fun with the tension of the mission into the heart of the Mistron complex. I mean, certainly again confirms that the Mistrons are playing a game here, because they could of course destroy the Spectrum agents at any point they so choose, but choose not to, and they choose this kind of a slightly over elaborate plan of changing the timing on the bomb to destroy them, when I'm sure there are any number of ways that they could, with their mysterious powers, just take them out. We do obviously have that scene with the hypnotic wall, but no doubt there could have been any number of other traps in the complex that they could have fallen into. I did notice that not the hypnotic pattern that Lieutenant Green stares at, but in the wider shot there's one that looks exactly the same as the one used in the Doctor episode 2 with the Cybermen, and I don't know whether that was like a standard. I don't know. I mean, these were made at a similar time. Tim and Simon was 1967. So was there I don't know, who would even manufacture hypnotic patterns? And obviously the scale is entirely different, but they do look exactly the same. One of the things is just the genuine kind of mysteriousness of the Mistron complex. It's not quite as bizarre as the one that you see in the first episode on Mars. But you still have that kind of, there's the one shot with the kind of Vaseline streak where you see the vehicle going in and out, and they're like, that's how we get in, walking through the wall. And I like the fact that because of the sort of low gravity, for once you can actually see the puppets moving around. They're not reliant on like going, let's stick a moving walkway in the Mistron city, let's bounce them along, and then have an area of weightlessness where they can float up. So that works quite well. It's very in your face that Fraser is a Mistron, although he's one of those few Mistron characters, along with the previous Lunar characters, that you don't see Mistronized. So along with everybody else in the story, you are in the dark, unlike most other episodes where, as the viewer, you're ahead of the curve in knowing who the bad guys are, but you don't know through the dialogue, but the direction and certainly the music tell you that Fraser is a wrong-un from the minute he appears on screen. And when he reveals himself, it's not much of a surprise. So, and I obviously can't remember what I thought when I first saw this. I was perhaps slightly less wise to the tricks of music and editing. And obviously, going into this, I knew exactly what was going to happen. But I do think it's nice the way that's all arranged to kind of hint that he's bad before he reveals himself. And for the second episode in the row, he is not dealt with. We have two sets of Mistrons at large, and he's a loose end that I'm pretty certain is never tied up. I mean, one can assume that there's a scene that there wasn't time for where they go after him and kill him off. But as the episode aired, he is left to continue his evil ways. The sort of comedy, Linda fancies Captain Scarlet thing I don't know how I feel about Captain Scarlet's attempts to do humour, because we had that joke in Spectrum Strikes Back about hunting the duck, which I don't know. I suppose if it makes you laugh, then it works, and I suppose I found it quite amusing, but it does feel a little clunky. Oh, I didn't notice he was good looking, kind of thing. And equally, the whole Lieutenant Green, do I get a coconut? Feels somewhat racist. Now, a black actor is playing Lieutenant Green. I suspect he wouldn't have been able to kind of quibble that line and go, this is a bit stereotypical. Anyway, I would be intrigued to kind of hear the behind the scenes on that one. But it's a fun episode full of action. The Mistron vehicles, trying to bash them into pieces, are decidedly alien and creepy. And again, it feels like, unlike many Captain Scarlet episodes, which could be interchangeable in order, it does feel like they're going to go, okay, well, there's a narrative here, we're progressing, which I think is something that would feed into UFO more, in that there are more episodes of UFO that feel like there's this ongoing narrative between the aliens and the humans. And I guess there's a similarity there in that both series are about aliens versus humans in one form or another. Plus, there was some of the music cues in the city feel very UFO as well. I was kind of minded of that when I was watching. Though obviously this comes first, so if anything, Barry Gray's borrowing from himself in reverse. In some of UFOs sounding like Captain Scarlet. The pulsator, I don't think it gets called the pulsator in this episode. I think we get called that next week. The power source is decidedly weird, which I think I quite like. There's no obvious kind of similarities between Mistron technology and human technology. They've kind of set out to make this place seem alien, and I think they do really succeed. So this is definitely a high point of the series, shall we say. And I'm looking forward to reviewing the third part of this trilogy next week. As I said, my recollection is that it doesn't round it out quite so well, but we will see. Episode order, this is 18 on the DVD, so very similar kind of order, but the way that this trilogy plays out on DVD is very different, in that you have 5 episodes between Lunaville 7 and Crater 101, so more of that what are you waiting for kind of stuff. And most of those episodes are ones that we've covered. There's one that we haven't yet, so it's interesting to see what is brought forward and brought back to kind of sandwich in between. And then the interesting thing is that on the DVD, Shadow of Fear appears between Crater 101 and Dangerous Rendezvous, which is a little odd, given that Shadow of Fear is all about the kind of mission to take photographs of Mars, whereas Dangerous Rendezvous has the whole kind of thing of we're actually trying to talk to the Mistrons based on Crater 101. So that makes absolutely no sense to me as far as continuity goes, in having those 3 episodes in that order. So certainly having the Blu-ray order where Dangerous Rendezvous does follow immediately on from Crater 101, that makes the most sense. Though actually, with the VHS order where it goes third, actually just having the 3 run back to back probably makes the most sense, given the whole we've discovered the complex, we want to destroy it as quickly as possible kind of thing. They were obviously kicking the series off with Shadow of Fear, followed by these 3. Makes no sense at all, because you have no idea what the context for the whole conflict is. New Mistron powers, I don't think we see anything particularly new, unless you're going to count like hypnotising walls in your city. Mistron's still at large, as we've said. Fraser comes out of this story in one piece, never to be seen again, as far as I remember. Is it a win or a loss? Well, this is definitely a win for Spectrum, proving that they can remove the power source from Mistron City, and that by destroying the Mistron City without the power source, you remove their ability to recreate it, which is an interesting thing, which I don't think is further explored, unfortunately. So yes, Mistron Puppets. Fraser, if you want to see him, head over to the Puppet Gallery, Mistron Puppet Gallery on UFOcast.co.uk. and see where he fits in to that. Next week, we are back with Dangerous Rendezvous. Looking forward to rounding out this trilogy.